I'd like to again welcome everybody who has joined us on this session for today, where we are talking about the myths and truths about entrepreneurship. And I know the myths and truths of entrepreneurship, and the truth is quite a number of us are either in business. Some of us have ever started a business before. And, there's what we've been told, there's what we've been experienced. And what I like about today is we're going regional. Today we're having an East African conversation, and that for me is very exciting. I don't think it's just East African, because when I think about where Danielle has worked before, the clients Danielle has and even used to have in the UK and the US, I think this is really a global session. So I'd like us to get ready. I hope you have your notebook or you have your phone and your notes apps. The notes app is on, because our leaders and the CEOs of today will be sharing with us very key things around getting started, for those how their experience was when they got started, what they had, what they'd been told, what they thought it was, and how they were able to deal with it, how it affected them. And also they'll be telling us about how the experience has been, what are their truths at the moment as leaders, what are they going through, what are some of the things they are ready to share with us. Without further ado, I'd like to get started with our introductions. Hi, Danielle, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Karibuni Sani. Nice to see you all virtually. So I'm Danielle Anderson, as Sheba mentioned. I hail originally from the US, though I haven't lived there in quite a long time. I spent 11 years in London, and I've been in Nairobi now for 4 years. My journey actually started in financial services, working for big corporate names like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and HSBC. But after 10 years of following that path that I thought I was meant to be on, like you leave uni, you get a job, you get money, you keep going in that career, and you tick all those boxes, I just felt completely dissatisfied with where my life was headed. So I decided to leave literally without a plan. I didn't know what I wanted to do instead, but I had a little bit of cash and some time to then figure that out. When I first left corporate, I didn't think I was going to start my own business. It wasn't until about 6 months later when I realized what I wanted to do, which was to become a business coach and help people to set up their own businesses, to figure out their business model, and to pull all the pieces together so that they can make it work. That the best way for me to do that was as my own boss and to start my own business. So in 2013, I started Step and Stone in the UK, and then I moved that here to Kenya in 2017, where I've been here kind of ever since. So my client base has been in the UK, it's been in Europe, in the Caribbean, and also now predominantly focused in East Africa. I started a second business. I co-started a second business called the Afri-Love Connection Club 2 years ago with my business partner, Lulu Kitulolo. This is a membership network specifically for female founders in Kenya, where we help them to build meaningful connections, to work on themselves and on their business, and really just to transform their lives in the same way that we have been able to. So I'm super excited to be here today and to share my insights, and I look forward to hearing also from the other speakers that join me. Thanks, Sheba.
Thank you so much, Danielle. What a wonderful introduction. And I can't wait to hear more about your business and your journey as well. I'd now like to invite a lady who is from Tanzania, and she says she's professional and her personal interests include food and lifestyle. And Esther, you will tell us, in food, does it mean you're good at, you love enjoying culinary delights as you eat, or is it as you cook? She's also very passionate about entrepreneurship and customer service, and that's none other than Esther Kolimba, CEO of Soul Treats. Welcome, Esther.
Thank you, Sheba. So hi, everybody. Good morning. And Karibuni. So as Sheba said, I'm Esther Kolimba, and I am CEO and co-founder of a business called Soul Treats. So it's all in the name. It's there to treat your soul. And our tag is also a taste of heaven. So basically, I love to eat good food, and I love to make good food. So it makes me very happy to see people enjoying, good food. So especially think, desserts. So basically, this is a business which started about 8 years ago now. It was a passion of mine and my partner's. But also I always had a creative streak and I wanted to do something outside of just having my full-time job. So I tried a number of things, which I'll talk about a bit more later during my presentation. And then along the way came Soul Treats. And here we are 8 years later. We are 3 women who are partnered. And it's been working well, which is something which a lot of people say really isn't possible and things like that. So we're very passionate, myself and my partners, about making it known to people that it is possible for women to work together to build something which is good. The other thing is that the majority of our staff are also women, all of whom didn't have skills in baking and all of that. So we taught everybody from scratch as well. So that's something that we're very proud of as well. And as the business has grown and as I've grown as the business owner, over time I've kind of realized that I also want to share with everybody to for people to avoid the pitfalls that we found along the way. So that's why I'm thankful for opportunities like this and any others that I can get to kind of share my knowledge with other people to kind of help them along the way as well. So I'm really looking forward to today and also to learning, because I'm still learning. My business is still growing. So I want to learn more from other people, about how they've been able to do it and get themselves over the different humps that entrepreneurs kind of meet along the way. So thank you for having me.
Welcome, Karibu Sana Esther Kolimba. Up next is a gentleman who runs one of the most recognized brands when it comes to providing property solutions in Tanzania. And he'll be telling us a little more about himself. He does that through a magazine, a property agency. Welcome, Emillian Rwejuna. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, good morning, Sheba, and good morning, the rest of you. Hope can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, Emillian is name, and most of all, I'd like to congratulate you all for putting these things together, because it's an important platform to give others the opportunity to hear from others, whether it's ups or it's down, but something is better than nothing. I'm glad to represent from Tanzania. My name is Emillian Rwejuna, not Rwejuna. I'm representing Prime Location. I'm CEO, I'm the founder, I'm the MD, I'm everything in my organization. And today I'm going to share my journey since I started my income generating journey. Because when I say income generating journey, it's a process where you start earning. And they start depending on parents, whether it's employment or running your own business or hawking, anything. So I believe it's going to be a very interesting experience to some of us, and some will learn, and some will also give me positive construction areas I can take it further. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Emillian, and most welcome. And finally, I'd like to introduce one of our major Centonomy friends, and also my friend. He's a coach, and also, just like Emillian, he's in the real estate business, and he'll tell us just a little bit about it, because I know he'll be having a session just to talk about that. Welcome, Denis Tonkei.
Good morning, East Africa. How are you? My name is Denis Tonkei. I run Rotlar Limited last year, and we're in the real estate in Nairobi, in Kenya. We buy, sell, and rent, and mortgage. Basically, we're here today to continue empowering and strengthening entrepreneurs, discuss with them the way forward, and learn from each other's unique experiences, because as you would understand, entrepreneurship is a very dynamic way of looking at life. It changes every day, and it's always good to keep updating your resume and your skills as we go along. Thank you, Sheba, for having me. Thank you. Nice to see you all. Anderson, my friend from Tanzania, and Esther. Thank you. Elima.
Great. Most welcome. Great. And I won't even do so much. I know as we keep going with the session, we'll get to know our CEOs and founders even more. As I've mentioned, for all our participants on the Zoom account, feel free to write your questions or suggestions in the chat box. We'll be having a Q&A session later where you'll be invited even to, if you want to speak, to raise your hand, and you're going to get to hear our speakers and talk to them as well. And what will they be sharing about? Danielle Anderson is up next, and she'll be sharing with us. She said she's interested in entrepreneurship, and she's very keen on that. She's a coach as well. She's a trainer as well. She's also a mentor to a couple of people, and she also runs an entrepreneurship club. So Danielle will be sharing with us and all of you will be sharing with us what entrepreneurship means to you as a founder and even as a leader. And you'll also get to share with us your experience being in the business sector. What are the major challenges you've experienced and how have you tackled them? Please share with us what the myths you discovered in the entrepreneurship journey, what you were told, what you thought, and what were those effects in your life? What are those effects in your life even before you started? And finally, we'd like to hear about your truths. What are the truths you have discovered in your journey? How are they affecting your business? How have they affected your business? And most importantly, how are you using those truths to adjust and continue growing during this time? I'd like to invite you, Miss Danielle Anderson. Karibu sana.
Asante, wow. First up, okay, no pressure, right? So for me personally, entrepreneurship means being able to use my innate skills in a way that I wouldn't be able to if I were still employed by somebody else. And what I mean by that is that I can take the things that I'm really good at and use them in a way to make money, right? I don't need to listen to a boss. I don't have to be instructed by certain people on how I do things. So entrepreneurship for me is really about being my own boss. Now, I know for others, it may be different because they may be trying to build some sort of humongous business with lots of employees and multinational locations. But for me, it's really about how can I bring my passion, my talents to the world and make a living from it. So the other thing about entrepreneurship is, sorry, I have some notes that I'm just looking at, but also like supporting others to do the same for themselves, right? Entrepreneurship comes in so many different forms, as I just touched on. So it's about finding what it means to you and how you want that to look in the outward world. You know, as I said, it might be that you're on your own as a solopreneur, and maybe that you're trying to build a big company. So entrepreneurship can take many, many different forms. Some of the major challenges that I've experienced during my 7 years in business, there's quite a few, so I'm gonna take them one by one. The first is obviously figuring out how are you actually going to make this work? So as I mentioned in my introduction, I used to work in corporate. I spent 10 years in financial services, and I worked in a strategy role, which basically meant that I was able to sit in the business would say, hey, we have this idea that we want to execute, but we have no idea how to make it happen. So my skill within the corporate world was also figuring that out, taking all of those different pieces, talking to different stakeholders, understanding what the needs were for each of those different stakeholders, and then basically building a business model around that idea. But I didn't really know how to make that into a business. It took me a while to figure out that I could even do that as an entrepreneur, that I could create my own business with that exact same skill set. So once you have your idea, that's great, but you still need to figure out your business model. You need to figure out who are you in business for? And I'm going to come back to that in a minute because it can't be for everyone. So hold that thought. Who are you in business for? How much are you going to charge for your products and services? What partnerships do you need to build in order to get your thing out there? How do you equip yourself with the skills that you don't have? Because even though I had 10 years in business, per se, I had never run a business before. It's a very different animal than working within a business, right? There's all of a sudden, you know, as Emillian said, you're the CEO, you're the founder, you're the boss, you're the decision maker, you're you're the tech person, you're the marketing person. You are everything when you first get started. So you need to understand how those different components work. And, you know, sometimes you have to do them all on your own for the short term anyway. So that was the first challenge, is like figuring out how to make it work. The ways that I would suggest doing that for yourself, figuring out those things. The first is to do market research. You have this idea that you want to get out there, but you need to identify a target customer and have conversations with them. And when I say have conversations, I don't mean that you're throwing your idea on them and saying, hey, this is the best thing since, the most recent chapatis that we've started making. Don't you think it's great? People will just say yes because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Instead, you need to ask open-ended questions that cannot be answered with just a yes or a no. So questions that start with how, or sometimes why, although why kind of puts people on the defense. What is a great one? So, what are the challenges that you're facing in business is something that I would ask if I were doing market research, because I would want my target customer to tell me that. So the first thing is market research. The second thing is really listening to what people are saying and not feeling so attached to your idea that you're not willing to make some changes along the way. Again, this is something I'm going to come back to in a few minutes, but, just really listening to what they're saying. What are their challenges? What are they in need of? And then how can you fit into that? The next thing is really about trial and error. So the way that you think that things are going to work is never going to be the way that things are going to work. So you need to try things out and just go for it, 100%, put everything into it and see what happens. You'll learn in that process. You'll definitely make mistakes in that process, but it's only by putting yourself out there and trying that you're ever going to find out. So don't wait until things are perfect to make that first step. And then the other way to start to figure out your business model is really to get support. So you're not going to know how to do everything. Some things will come to you much more naturally than others. And I get it. In the beginning, you may not have a lot of cash to be spending on hiring people or employing a coach like myself or some of the others on the panel, but you do need to find how to get the skills that you don't have. And that might be that you trade some things, or that you just, you spend time on the YouTube Academy, or you take courses that will upskill you in certain areas so that you can move forward with your idea. So that's the first challenge, is figuring out, how do I make this work? The second challenge that I've encountered is building a team. So in the beginning, you may be able to do everything on your own, but at some point you're going to get to the stage where you can't, because it doesn't make sense. You need to be spending your time on the things that you are awesome at. And you need to find other people to spend time on the things that are a waste of your time. So for example, in my business, I will do social media strategy, but there is no reason for me to spend hours every week posting on social media. I can hire someone to do that for me. So understand where your skills are, understand where your weaknesses are, and find people who can support you in, those other areas. But building a team is a challenge, because how do you find the right people? How do you make sure that they are dedicated and loyal? And again, it's never going to be easy. So I hired a few people last year. I took them through a really rigorous process, which I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about now, but I have written a blog on it. So Sheba, maybe we can share the link later for people to see what that looks like. But you really want to, when you're interviewing, you need to make sure that there's a fit. And the way that you do that is by not just asking them questions about their skills and their experience, but also asking them questions about them, like what inspires them, what motivates them, how do they like to be managed, how do they like to feel as though they've contributed, because it needs to be a two-way street of this interview process to see that there's really like a cultural fit, that they're the right people. That said, it's never foolproof. Everyone is on their own personal journey. Even if you have an amazing employee, they might leave you at some point. They most likely will leave you at some point, because, we all have career trajectories that we're following, and we have dreams and desires and goals and everything else. So, you just have to realize that no one will be there forever. It's very unlikely that anyone will be there with you forever. So making sure that you're identifying the gaps in your business, that you're finding people to fill those gaps, and that you have some sort of succession planning in mind, so that if someone does end up leaving, your business doesn't just fall apart, that you have someone that can pick up those pieces if someone else decides that they want to go. So building a team for sure is a challenge. I think one of the things, like just really focusing on that transparency, like who are you as a business? What do you stand for? And making sure that whoever you're hiring has those same so like those same values, that same vision, that same determination and passion for what you have created. The third challenge is personal setbacks. So, life happens. And unfortunately, when we get older, more life happens. In the past 5 years, I have gone through a divorce. I have moved countries. I have been involved in a terrorist attack, and I lost my father. So when these things happen, how do you make sure that your business keeps going? And I don't wish that any of you have those same like successions of things that happen one year after another, but the reality is that those are all things that were completely outside of my control that I couldn't plan for. But you can somewhat plan for it. So you need to make sure that your business can kind of run without you. And the way that you do that is not just by having a great team behind you, but also setting up systems that your business can follow so that there's a process that people go through, that your customers go through, and that you have as much automated as you possibly can so that you are not needing to be physically doing stuff all the time or physically present all the time. You need to be able to realize that life is going to happen in so many different ways, right? And that leads me on to my third thing, which is a major challenge, which is just, like coronavirus. This is something that none of us anticipated. This has put a complete spanner in all of our 2020 plans. It's affected all of our businesses and will continue to affect our businesses probably for a couple more years, if we're being completely honest. And on top of something like that, there's just a cyclical nature of business anyway. So you're going to have months that are busier than others. For my business, August tends to be a really slow time because a lot of people take extended holidays in August. And January, funnily enough, January also tends to be a really slow time because people first start thinking about their plans before they hire me to help them execute them. So every single business will have a cycle to it. You need to be sure that you are prepared for those cycles. And what I mean there is that you have enough cash in the bank to cover all of your expenses for those months that you may not be able to generate a lot of revenue. So those are the 4 challenges that I really want to touch upon. Oh, and also in terms of things like COVID, you really need to be on top of the strong money management and knowing like how much are my expenses, how much do I need to earn every month to make sure that that's covered. You also need to be adaptable. So the way that your business was working before is probably not the way that it's working now. How can you change your business model to not only adapt to the current situation, but maybe also take advantage of new opportunities that you hadn't even considered before, right? And then you need to be a little bit strategic in your thinking so that you're not just siloed and saying, okay, this is the way that I said I was going to do it, and therefore it's the only way that it can happen. Usually there's more than one alternative that you can consider. So thinking about your different options, thinking about the pros and cons of each options, and just doing scenario analysis. And sometimes you can't do that. Like maybe you don't really have a strategic brain. Maybe you're the ideas person in your business. And if that's the case, you should find someone to help you with that thought process because it will give you clarity and direction and new focus that can take you out of those more difficult times. So those are some of the challenges. All right, let me move on to the myths. I want to share 5 with you. The first myth is that everyone can be an entrepreneur. It's not true. Some people are not cut out for this. It's not easy. I'm going to come on to that in a minute. And not all of us have the desire. Some people are really, really good in employment and being told what to do and having a set schedule, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and not having to worry about it. So not everyone can be an entrepreneur. That's number 1. The second myth is that you can be in business for everybody. I see this so often. You think, okay, I am an intellectual property lawyer, and therefore I can serve anyone who needs intellectual property. When you try to be in business for everyone, it really causes you to dilute your marketing message, make it more difficult to find your ideal customers. It makes it more difficult for you to stand true to your identity and being authentic as a business owner of like who you actually really like to work with. And you end up like chasing your tail all the time. So be really specific about who you want to be in business for. If someone outside of that description comes and says, hey, I want to work with you, that doesn't mean you say no, but you're just much more targeted in your approach. The third myth is that entrepreneurship is going to make you rich. I know we see it a lot. Loads and loads of entrepreneurs become rich. But the truth is that you will earn more in employment over the next 10 years than you will earn in entrepreneurship. You may become rich at some point in the future, but don't use entrepreneurship as a gateway to cash, because it is a long road before you get there. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not a quick fix. So, don't try to just assume that you're going to become this next unicorn company that's going to get loads and loads of funding and get bought out, and you're going to become the next Elon Musk. It's rare. Okay. So if that's your motivation, it's not an accurate one. The fourth myth is that you need a business plan. Now, when I say that you need a business plan, what I'm talking about is like that 30-page document that you write up, and like, it's all like, it's actually make-believe, right? You're kind of guessing on all of the different sections that are in it. Business plans in the traditional sense of that 30-page document are not usually needed unless you are going to a bank and asking for money. Okay. So I am not saying that you shouldn't plan for your business. You absolutely should plan for your business. And you should think about all of the different components that make up a business plan, like, your market, your business model, your finances, your team, all of that stuff is important to think about, but you don't need to waste your time putting that into a 30-page document that you're literally never going to look at again. So instead, I recommend different ways of planning rather than writing that document. And that thing should be living and breathing and looked at often and recalibrated when things change, because they will change. And then the final myth is that you can do it alone. You can't. So even if you start out on your own and you are the one that's offering the service. So for example, me, I'm a business coach. I am the one that works directly with my clients. There's no one else that I hire to do that process. But I can't do that all on my own. I have a team of people behind me, and they're not necessarily employees. Some of them are just contractors, but I have teams of people behind me that help with stuff. So I have a website person, like a web developer, who helps me when I need stuff with my WordPress. I have an accountant that does my annual accounts for me, although I do my own monthly bookkeeping because finance is one of my strong points. I have social media managers that help with like the posting of stuff. And I hire consultants all the time to assist me in that next thing. So you can't do it alone. Even if you don't have employees, you will need to have other people support you, because it also makes sense for you to not be wasting your time on stuff that isn't your strong suit, as I mentioned before. All right. And then finally, I want to finish up with some truths of entrepreneurship, some things I've learned along the way. And some things that might be useful for you that I've also seen with clients. So the first truth is it is going to be hard. There are going to be extreme highs in the journey where you're like, yes, this is amazing. I love every moment of this and I'm so excited. And there's going to be moments where you're on the floor in tears and wondering, what the hell are you doing? And why did you make this decision? So be prepared for those highs and those lows, because they will for sure come. And it's not like they disappear over time. Like, I'm 7 years in and those things still happen. You still have moments where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, should I give up and get a job? And, I don't really ask myself that question all the time, because there's no way now that I would go back into employment, but just be prepared that there are going to be those tough moments. And alongside those tough moments, the existing circle that you might have around you, they may not be able to support you anymore. They may not get it, right? For example, your family might be like, oh, I don't understand why you left banking and you left a 6-figure salary, or 7 figures in Kenyan shilling terms. Like, why would you leave a 7-figure salary to go and start your own thing? Like, they don't get it. So they don't really know how to support you in those things. So having the right people around you who do understand that journey is super important in managing those highs and those lows of entrepreneurship. The second thing that is a truth is that you do not need to be a business person to be successful in business. Now, what I mean here is, like, you don't need to have an MBA. You don't need to have studied business in school. You don't need to have worked in a business before to get started with an idea. But what you do need is the willingness to learn what you don't know. It's all about attitude rather than ability. So being able to learn the things that you don't know, being able to admit the things that you don't know so that you then are vulnerable enough to go and ask for help for those things. And, right, like I said before, having the right people to fill the gaps around you, like to pick up the areas where you're not so strong and to support you in those things. The third truth I want to share is that imposter syndrome never goes away. So imposter syndrome, for those of you who don't know the term, is basically this feeling that you shouldn't be doing this thing that you're doing because who are you to think that you can? You don't have experience in this thing before, you've left employment to start something, there's all these other people that are doing it as well, and therefore they must be doing it better than you. You basically feel like a fraud. Now, this gets better with time because you start to flex that muscle of saying, okay, no, I can do this. Like I now have a bit of a track record. I've been doing this for long enough. But every single time you step up into a new opportunity, or you grow your business, or you make a decision that you've never made before, momentarily, you will still have that kind of feeling like, oh, wow, like I am an imposter. Like, who do I think I am? And this is definitely something that women face more than men. It's unfortunately, but it never really goes away. You just get better at managing it. So know that, recognize that, be gentle with yourself, and just keep pushing yourself forward, even when it feels a bit scary. The next truth I want to share is that you really, really have to be honest about your finances. And, it's great that we're here with Centonomy because that's what you guys teach. Money matters is super important. If you tell yourself over and over and over again that you're no good with money, that's going to manifest in so many different ways. You're going to make bad business decisions. You're not going to spend in the right areas. You're going to overspend in the wrong other areas. And to be honest, you could run out of cash quite quickly. So get honest about your money matters. Learn about it. Stop telling yourself that you're no good at it. Again, it's about attitude, not ability. You can learn things that you historically haven't been good at. Everything that you are now an expert at is something that at one point in time in your life, you had no idea about. So change your attitude, be willing to learn those things, and get confident with your finances so that you don't run out of cash. And then the final truth I want to share with you is that entrepreneurship, really, I find it amazing. It gives you so much freedom to, like, as I said, when I was getting started, like what it means to me. You're able to be free. You can be your own boss. You can follow your passions. You can be the decision maker. I mean, I find it to be a truly amazing experience. It's something, like I said, I've been doing for 7 years. I would never go back into employment, maybe short-term contracts that last at most a month to 3. But, there's just so much other freedom that comes with the journey. So if it's something that you're ready for, absolutely take the leap, go for it. Just recognize that it's going to be challenging and find the right people to support you along the way.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Danielle, for all this amazing tips. And as you were speaking, especially when you were talking about challenges, and I know you will highlight during the question and answer, just think about this and maybe you can note this down. There's a time you talked about succession planning versus business falling apart when an employee leaves. Something that would be really amazing is for you to share with us. How are you preparing? How are you planning for? How do you do it? How do you set up systems for succession planning in your business at the moment at Step and Stone? And also, as a solopreneur, there are quite a number of us who are in this class, and we are currently running the Centonomy Entrepreneur program. And we have entrepreneurs who say, right now I'm the alpha and omega of the business. I am everything. I am the cook, I'm the chef, I am the cleaner, I'm the CEO, I'm the salesperson. So how would you encourage a solopreneur at the moment, yes, who has dreams about growth, but wants to set up systems? What do they need to do, even when they feel that they have so much to do? Thank you for all the insights. I can see on Zoom, Winnie Jeremiah saying, thanks, Danielle, that was so powerful. Philippa saying, thank you for your great insights. And Dawn, son of a king, saying that was an awesome presentation. You've shared with us great myths. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. That's a fact. And you've also shared with us that the good thing about entrepreneurship, when you're prepared for the highs and lows, you have the freedom to follow your passion and make decisions. Thank you so much. If you have any questions for Danielle based on what she's been talking about, and please feel free to write down the questions on the chat box on Facebook for those who are watching online, and even on Zoom, and we'll get back to that or the question and answer session. Thank you so much, Danielle, and looking forward to the next session. Our next speaker, who will also be sharing with us his journey and the myths that he experienced, and also the truths that he's experienced right now in his business, is Emillian Rwejuna from Tanzania, who runs a property business. Today I know there's a question that probably is already here, and all our property professionals need to answer the question about, is there a bubble? When is a bubble busting? Did it bust? And how do we know this? And Rwejuna, CEO and MD of Prime Locations Investment from Tanzania, karibu sana. Welcome.
Asante sana, Sheba, for this wonderful session, and I think you can hear me very well. I'm really excited also to share my experience on this so-called entrepreneurship. I like to start my entrepreneurship by presentation, basically starting with the definition that is going around the world, that what is entrepreneurship. I think it is more skewed on the angle that being entrepreneurship is risk-taking. And many think moving from employment, starting your own business, running your own business, the most important thing you're going to be risk-taker. And anything associated with risk, everyone doesn't want to be in connection or closer to anything that has risk. But the truth is, yes, it is risk. From the definition of the black domain writers or preachers or educators who have gone around preaching about the entrepreneurship. And the reason it's called the risk-taking because the reward for that always is big. But the vice versa is true. If you don't go make it through, again, you will suffer the big consequences. However, to my understanding or from a Emillian definition, entrepreneurship is basically not about risk-taking. The experience I have gone through is that anyone can be entrepreneurship anywhere if he chooses to take anything serious as business. If you read from the French definition of the word entrepreneurship, this is coming from the word called entrepreneur. And entrepreneur means taking. So anyone who undertakes anything, whether a project in an organization or project on a group or a project alone, can make it through if he is really determined to achieve the end results. So now, my understanding or thinking about being entrepreneurship is knowing what you want at the end of the day. If you read some of the books, like one of the authors called Stephen Covey, on his famous book of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, there is one habit which is insisting that you always start with the end in mind. So if you want to venture in anything in your life, define what do you want to achieve at the end of the day. Either you are in employment or you are starting your own undertaking, understand what you want to achieve. Now, these issues of understanding to majority has been termed as copying from others. And this tendency of copying from others has put many of us into the wrong directions. If you see someone is running a small business or in a business, you don't want to know how his real business system is. You always look at the outputs. You see him driving a nice car, staying in a nice house, spending left and right and center, and your thinking drives you that is generating that money from that set he is presenting to you. The reality is not true. Some people have other sources of income. Some people have sponsors. Some people are not hearing what they tell you, and then they influence you to start the same business. Now, when you start a business, you end up falling in the big trap, which sometimes is difficult to get out. So I want to emphasize that whoever wants to become an entrepreneur can do it at work, can do it by starting his own setups. Being at work, you can easily be entrepreneur, because I love being entrepreneur at work, because you don't need to hire office, you don't need to pay electricity bill, you don't need to start to set up or furniture or anything. You just need to focus that I need to double my income, I need to increase my income. So now, what opportunities do I see around my employment that I can improve my performance, and at the end of the day become a true partner to my employer? And we have seen most of the CEOs earn bonuses at the end of the year. And why do they earn bonus? Because there was a clear understanding between themselves and their employer that if you achieve this at the end of the year, I'll give you this. And then they're chasing for that result, which is a bonus. Again, when you start your own business, again, stand on your own, define exactly what you want to achieve, and then go for that. Now, the bottom line is, for you to achieve that, you need to be a principled person. You don't need to just take it easier. It's not going to be easier whether you set up your own business or you're at employed. You need to be principled person. There are some personalities and entrepreneurs should have. And you can see this whether you are running own business or you are on employment. The same principles and the personalities will be easily seen from one person to another. These people have goals. Whether you're employed or you're running your own business, you must have goals. You must be open. You see, they are confident, they are versatile, they are passionate of what they are doing. You see, when you start your business, you think this is a space for freedom, a freedom place. It is not true. You have to make sure that whether you're in business or you're employed, the same principles of discipline are always adhered to. If you don't follow the principles of discipline, you easily fall out of the direction. So there are so many personalities an entrepreneur is supposed to have: the priorities, the trust, the resilience, the integrity, going through challenges, autonomy, being a facilitator, and all these are the fall within the interpretation I consider to be the true entrepreneur, depending on the circumstances and the environment you are working on. Because some of the personalities might work in South Africa and not work in Tanzania. Some personalities might not work in the US but work in Tanzania. But what you need to do, those personalities should be adjusted to fit the environment and the people around you. Now, if I take you through my experience, I started being an entrepreneur unknowingly. I could say it unknowingly because when I finished my high school, I found myself joining an organization, and it was a religion organization, which was basically trying to establish a source of funds. So we, as a church member, we had to do some fundraising activities. And automatically, I found myself having that talent of pushing myself, meeting people, going around. And we were doing a lot of activities, going office to office, selling clothes to ladies and the office staff. And it was a very good experience. It's tough, knocking to someone's office, you don't know him, introducing yourself, giving something on credit because it wasn't on cash basis, and then follow up for payment. It was a bit challenging, but I found myself enjoying it. And it was my starting journey or selling experience. But along that way, be careful. There are a lot of tormentors. Those people will always try to discourage you. They will tell you a lot of negativity. They will try to discourage you. They will give you vivid examples that somebody done the same and it didn't work out. Now, if you didn't know what exactly you want to start and end up with, you will easily be taken away by those feedbacks. Now, when I started that, I ran through that and I started some small setups. It was not easy, it was tough. I did transportation business, the daladala, the taxi. For those who know Tanzania, there is a public transport is called daladala. Not easy dealing with people who are driving daladalas, the drivers, the way they run, sometimes the story they give you are not genuine if you're not there to follow up. But it was a learning process. Didn't work very well, but to me, I take it as a lesson platform, which I've learned to where I am today. But again, after that, I went to college, I finished my degree, and straight I went to employment. Again, I think I was entrepreneur at work. And that could be another platform that really put my face up there, people to trust me. Because I was really hardworking. I was aggressive for results. My bosses, my senior managers, whatever they assigned me, had all the reason to rest because I could drive it, I could follow up, I could even pressurize them to give me any support I wanted until I delivered the expected results. So I volunteered, I went extra miles, and all this became part of my personality. And when it came to, that was 2001, and by 2014, I decided now let me try to run my show out of employment. Now it's when I joined the Prime Location. It's a real estate company. We started as a real estate agent, trying to go around showing people properties for rent, to buy. Not easy, and not easy. And I tell you guys, you come across a lot of people who will tell you this is not possible. You look around the people you are dealing with, we have people called street brokers here, or famous known as dalalis. If you are called dalal in Tanzania, you will beat someone's face because it's not a good name to be associated with. But the truth is, if you choose to polish that name, it becomes a brand. So you can be dalali as long as you take yourself professional. The challenge is dalalis have personality issues. They are not trusted. So it's up to you to convert yourself, changing those people to believe that you are the reliable source of a service that they can easily rely on. So the journey on real estate, it really discovered me a lot of things which I'm doing today. I even started advertising businesses. For those who knows Prime Location Magazine, Prime Advertising Magazine, it was part of my effort to be innovative on trying to differentiate myself or my services from the so-called dalalis to the professional real estate service. And it just worked very well. I upgraded my clients from the mainstream to the upper, to the foreigners, to the corporate, and it really worked very well. These are the people, when you present your case, they understand you and they rely on you and they give them services and they don't hesitate even paying for the services. Doesn't matter how much you charge them, they are buying experience, they are buying their abilities. And eventually, I even now started a real estate investment. It is good. It is a very good platform, but again, not everyone can be a real estate person or real estate investor because you need to have the eye, you need to see the opportunities and they know where to invest and by what should be the return and by when. So these are the areas of experience I want to share with you. And now I'm now a real estate consultant. So if you really want to know more about real estate, how to invest in real estate in the market of Tanzania for this case, come on and see me. I easily guide you how to move there. But it wasn't easy. There are a lot of challenges I've encountered. And number one challenge is goals achievement. Not easy. It's not that everyone in the entrepreneurship easily accomplish the goals, even if you know them. But there are some of the obstacles which are really along the way. If you come across them, either choose to go back to your either employment or give up or try to figure out and come up with those challenges. So one is for smaller starters, because of the size of business, capital, whatever, we end up focusing on low-cost paid employees. Well, these people, sometimes they are competitiveness issues. Some of them are in the trance. When you think they are here for you, for them, they are thinking where to move forward. So sometimes they can tell you they are going for sales, they can go for that, but they are attending interviews. Before you realize, they give you a note that I'm leaving the organization. It is really tough to absorb that when it comes to you at a particular time. Finance was also and still another big challenge because I have dreams, I have big ambitions, which I would like to go for, but you can't have everything at the same time. You need to the situation and then build up your case slowly. But I grow there, but finance, you can go to the banks, you can go to friends, you can even borrow from service providers and the suppliers. It's part of financing your business to control your cash flow. So you don't need necessarily cash in the bank or in your pocket to run business. It's all about how do you mitigate that challenge around, make sure you survive. Competition, it is there, and I can guarantee you that never fear competition, because competition is part and the parcel of sharpening you. If you can navigate through the competition, you are a survivor. If you fall because of the competition, you are not ready for that game. So make sure you are a fighter, you are a survivor, and you are innovative enough to survive along the competition period. We have come across this global pandemic, COVID-19. This has been the biggest challenge to majority. Yes, it has hit a lot of businesses, but has opened more businesses opportunities. Zoom was one of the brands which has grown big because of the COVID. But how can you navigate around COVID? Technology has been a big. We have really focused on pushing our business online, and we have still survived. Yes, we can't get the same amount we projected, but yes, we have money to run our business during this COVID situation. In Tanzania, the situation is different from other countries. We are open, and still we are trying to build the trust that people now we can work together and drive business. It is nice, it is growing up, and we are proud of that, and we pray to God that it should be that way, and we shouldn't go through or back to the challenges where people were in lockdown. And for that, I'd like to summarize with some truth about being an entrepreneur. Number one, Danielle said, not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Yes, it's true. But anything you take seriously as business, and you start with a purpose, and you follow principles, it can make you a successful person. You need to respect the players around you in any business you do, whether it's employment or startup. Remember, there are key players you need to respect and always give them opportunity to be part of your business. Your employees are very key players. Friends are very important people who can verify you, who can open opportunities for you. Always make sure you network very well with friends. Customers. The customer doesn't matter what size he is a customer. It doesn't matter how much money is bringing to you, he's a customer. Because he might be a small customer today, but tomorrow we even refer you to the biggest customer. So don't try to segment customer that I should give this customer big attention because he's paying me a lot of money, or I should not consider this because he's giving me small money. A customer is a human being. Give him or her the best respect and priorities as much as he can, because he might give you more businesses directly or through others. Regulators, government regulators particularly, most of us when we start business, we try to think that you can ignore them. And sometimes you know them, you enjoy your moment, but when they realize you are there, they're ignoring them. When they come to you, that's the moment when you are not prepared and you really end up in trouble. So very important when running your business, know the regulators and they give them their right. Government is always a shareholder in your business. You don't need them on your meetings, but they are 30% shareholder on your profit. So when you're planning, make sure you plan for that. And if you're in good books with the government, everything will go well. Because there is no way you should worry that one day government will come to my office and disturb my system. Because he's your partner, he's your shareholders, and make sure you give them their shares. Tax system, using consultant, auditors, and so forth, make sure your books are in that. And don't wait for the government to come to you or the tax people to come to you for you to start maneuvering around for your books. Always make sure your books are in order. Now, what I try to say, that being a business person doesn't change you from being an ethical person. You put ethics up front. You put principles up front so that you can have stuff you rely on when you're out of this. You can have partnership with all the stakeholders to make sure they don't feel that you are there to corner them, but rather you are there to support you and to be a true partner to them. And last, I like to conclude by saying, do anything you do by complementing the entertainment elements. Do not do things seriously. Anything you do so much seriously, it becomes a problem. Enjoy your moment. Don't do something you are not happy doing. Anything you spice it up with entertainment, you will enjoy it and you will prosper through it. So thank you so much for today. I expect to answer more questions when it comes to question session. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Emillian. Yes. Have fun as you work. Have fun as you run your business. I liked how you've shared very many tips with us, especially when you're talking about the realities about the need to be principled as a leader, as an entrepreneur, and the need to be value-driven is core in your business. You also talked about making sure that as founders, we are looking out for the tormentors in the entrepreneurship journey. And that's a very important thing because there will always be people who have an opinion about what you should not be doing or how you should be doing or why you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Thank you for sharing with us your challenges, your team management challenges. You talked about that aspect of, team management. And Emillian, please share with us, and you'll be talking to us during the question and answer session. Just take this as a question. Yes, what if you are starting out or you are a young business, you really want to have good people? What are some of the things you need to do? Because, you mentioned about low-cost labor, getting low-cost labor who do not achieve their targets, who do not focus on your business. What have you learned in your business journey that we can apply in our businesses when it comes to hiring and when it comes to hiring the right people, even if they are not expensive people? I hope I am clear with that. And thank you for reminding us about the 30% shareholder of our business in the Centonomy Entrepreneur. I had never looked at the government as the way you've just brought it out, 30% shareholder of your business. You just said that and it blew my mind. We are always paying taxes, but, we always just saying, whatever comes to Caesar, let it go to Caesar. Whatever belongs to Caesar, let it go. But now you brought it out as a shareholder and they deserve the respect that they need, and as well as our friends and family. And Sainath is saying, amazing, Emillian, sir. You have a wonderful story and we're looking forward to learn a lot of things from you in the coming days. So please note that about the people, because is it possible to have people or a staff that is not very expensive, but is also going to achieve the goals and is going to grow with us in the business? I've run a business where every time I used to tell my staff, we will grow together. I know we need so many high salaries, but what can we do? Where does team management come into this? And you'll share with us. Now we are still in Tanzania, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So today, we have the opportunity to just go to the US, then we come to Kenya, then we go to Tanzania, and then we will still be going back to Kenya. And now I would like to invite our next speaker, Miss Esther Kolimba, the Chief Executive Director at Seoul Treats. And I'm curious to hear about all these treats and your journey as well. Karibu sana.
Asante. Thank you, Sheba. Thank you to the other speakers as well. Listening to that, Emillian, and especially Danielle. I wish I had Danielle with me when we started our business. There's so many things that she spoke about, and I'm thinking these are things that we learned years down the line. because we started very raw. There's so many things that we didn't know. We just had an idea and we wanted to run with it and we wanted to do something. So it's really great for those who are listening to have speakers like Danielle, who are able to really give a lot of pointers on how it is that you can start. I think my presentation is going to be much more of a storytelling, really telling you our story, Soul Treats, and how it is that we began and how it is that we got to where we are. So basically, we are a cake shop and a bakery, which is based in Dar es Salaam. We have one branch, which is based here. It started 8 years ago in 2012, home-based business, started literally one cake at a time. And we've grown to where we are today, where we have a shop, which is in the area of Namanga and Dar es Salaam, which is doing pretty well. Our brand has grown. It's pretty known. We have a good social media presence as well. And yeah, so basically the business, the co-founders, we are 3 of us currently. We actually started as a foursome, but one person in the early days, kind of 2-3 months down the line, decided to pull out because she couldn't commit really. So basically, when we started, we had wanted to do something. We were all full-time employed and we wanted to do something on the side to kind of help us get a little bit more money. And I think a lot of people, when you start as an entrepreneur, it's kind of, it's a side gig. You want to make a little bit, I have a bit of a creative streak and I felt like I wanted to do something which was going to enable me to make, also to enjoy, but also to make some money. So I tried different things. I had sold handbags from the boot of my car. I had done designing of clothing, which I did by myself. I did with someone else. I did interior design stuff, making cushions and table furniture and things like that. But things would, you do it, you'd enjoy it, and then kind of dies. Try this, and then it kind of dies. So in late 2011, in December, I had my first daughter, and being on maternity leave and watching a lot of TV and things, there's a show which really spurred my interest. So there's a reality show called Cake Boss, which is this American guy who does, called Bobby Valastro, does a lot of cakes. And I was really, really fascinated by this. And I had done baking all my life with my mother. My mom's a very good cook. And I really liked baking. Watching the show, I was like, this thing, maybe we can try this, and myself and my friends, and when we'd meet and kind of talk about maybe us doing something, we really didn't know what to start with. And so I put it to them and I was like, guys, maybe let's try this cake thing and see. We all had kind of a culinary interest in baking and cooking and things like that. So everyone was okay, let's go with Esther's idea and then we'll see down the line how it goes. If it doesn't work, then we'll try a different idea. And so that's kind of how it started. So we had this idea. Now, how do you really get going? Where are you going to get the money from? And do you have the skills that you need to be able to do what you want to do? Those were 2 of the major things, and also the equipment that we needed. So in terms of the money, we didn't have big lump sums that we set aside to be able to do this. So we literally just said, let's have our M-Pesa, choose an M-Pesa account where we'll just keep putting money every month, each one of us. We decided on 100,000 shillings. So this is back in 2012. We decided on putting in 100,000 shillings every month. And we said we keep doing this, and whatever money we made from the business, we'll put back into that. So that was the money part. Number 2 was the equipment. So we didn't really know where to go. So we literally started with just supermarkets. Going to the supermarket looking for the equipment that we could get. We didn't know where else to get stuff here. There's some things that we had to order online from the States and whatnot, where we had friends and things who could send us things. So we did that as well. In terms of the skills, I heard Danielle talk about YouTube Academy. We were members, very big members. So we watched a lot of YouTube, literally learning, especially because we could bake, but the decorating was a different story. So we really learned how to decorate watching a lot of videos on YouTube. Trial and error. If you see our cakes from 8 years ago, some of them really is a disaster. You think, how did I even give this to somebody? But it was the beginning of the business, and you have to be willing to learn and to really put yourself out there, So we started like that, little by little, one order at a time. People enjoyed it, then someone else would order. So in Dar es Salaam, obviously, there's a big baking industry. There are a lot of bakeries. Most people do bread, so we don't do bread, but there are a lot of people doing cakes, a lot of home-based bakers, a lot of bakeries doing it. But we really felt like there wasn't a lot of quality that was there. So in terms of the ingredients that were being put in cakes, we really felt we had something to offer in the market. And so, find a lot of bakers use kind of margarine to bake their cakes because it's cheaper to be able to do that. And we wanted to use butter, for example, which isn't produced in Tanzania. So we really struggled. It's stuff that you have that is imported into the country. And the other thing we wanted to use was really authentic ingredients. So if I tell you I'm making you a strawberry cake, you're really going to find strawberries in the cake. If it's a banana cake, you'll find bananas. If it's a fruit cake, you're going to find a variety of different dried fruits in the cake. So to be able to do that as well was tough, and to be able to get those ingredients and to still be able to make a profit. Now for us starting, we were basically just picking prices out of the air, not really doing the calculations that we needed, looking at our expenses and all of that to really come to a pricing point and everything. So those are some of the lessons that we learned along the way. But we started and we had a good product. So we had a good product and we had the passion to do it. When we started, it was each one of us baking. So depending on your availability, because as I said, we each had full-time jobs. So depending on your availability, Esther, you do it today. Tomorrow it's Sharon. My partners are called Sharon and Hannah. Tomorrow it's Sharon. Another day it's Hannah and things like that. And over time, you kind of realize, okay, this one's forte is this one's forte is this. Maybe she's not so great at this. So we also had to reevaluate how we were really going to work like that. So at some point, then I started to carry a little bit more of kind of the burden of that, of being able to decorate the cakes. I think I had more of a passion at the time for that, and to kind of use my partner's skills in other areas. So that was also, it was difficult to even come to that realization. We talk about other people putting things in your ears. So I'd hear different people say, Esther, you should just do it on your own. Just do it on your own. Leave your partners and do this. You can really do this. But the truth is, in a partnership, there is so much. Danielle spoke about using skills of different people. There are things that I know that I can do that others can't do so well, but there are things that they can do that I couldn't do. I wasn't very good with money, and I'm not very good with strategy. And these are things that my partners were able to do that I wasn't able to. And you'll also find at different points in your journey. So when we started kind of 2012, 2013, there are certain areas that we didn't need, certain skills that we didn't need so much that right now are very much necessary. Now, if I decided at that point that, say you can do it on your own, I really would have given up and stopped along the way. I wouldn't have been able to do it. So definitely I want to speak to the fact that partnership can be a very positive thing if you really figure out how it is to use the skills of each person to the best of their ability. So this kind of took us through 2012, 2013. We steadily grew. I think in 2013 to 2014, we decided to also employ somebody to be able to help us to bake the cakes, because the problem we had is you have a full-time job. You come home in the evening and you get home at 6, at 7. You have to start baking, waiting for cakes to cool, and then you decorate. So there were a lot of late nights, sleeping at 2 a.m. in the morning, 1 a.m. in the morning. Some of us were married, so you have a husband, you have children that you want to take care of and everything. So to really split up your time was also something that was very difficult. So we employed one person, but still this business was at home. So she would bake the cakes and then would deliver them to the various, whoever was decorating the cake. And then, you'd make sure the cake got to the customer on the next day. But again, a challenge when it comes to delivering, your product. You're working, a customer's calling you, I can't find your house. Or the Buddha driver, or the Bajaj driver. We have these Bajaj in Tanzania hasn't brought the cake. What's happening? You can't pick up. You're in a meeting with your boss. And so these are some of the challenges when you're trying to balance a business and a job that you're going to come across, because you want to work hard and give your job employer the best that you can, but at the same time, you're trying to build a business and get it somewhere, So at some point when it got to 2015, I really started thinking that we needed to take a leap. And if we were going to take the business to the next level, somebody would have to make the commitment to be able to watch over the business. And at the time, I felt like I was ready and I was willing to do that. It was a difficult decision. And of course, it's something I had to discuss with my husband and my family and everything. But it's something that I felt I wanted to do. And so in 2015, I resigned and my contract ended at the end of December 2015. Looking back, yes, maybe a pretty crazy decision, but I think the best decision for me, basically. And it was scary at the time. It was very scary. But it was the right thing to do. My partners were there to support me. My husband was there to support me. So I'm thankful for that. It is very important as an entrepreneur. I think Emillian and Danielle have spoken to this, to have support from your network. It's not always going to be there. Yes, people supported me. There were a lot of people who were, are you crazy? You have degrees, you have a master's, you have this. How are you going to bake cakes? You've been to good schools. Why are you doing this? You can do both. You can just keep doing both. But I really, really felt at the time that this, and when we discussed with my partners, we felt if we don't do it now, then let's just close the business, because it was getting to a point where we wouldn't be able to handle it from home. We had to take it to the next level. So we registered the business officially in 2014. We registered it in 2014, but there were still different areas that we were not compliant with. Emillian spoke about, our shareholder, 30% shareholder. we weren't really being very honest with the 30% shareholder at the time. And so trying to get in line with all of that. So in 2016, we opened the shop. We launched in May of 2016. And so when we opened the shop, then being able to get in line, to start getting in line with the Tanzania Revenue Authority, with what we call TFDA, which is Tanzania Food and Drug Authority. And the other issue that we had, and the other challenge I think maybe that a lot of entrepreneurs will also meet, is that there are a lot of things when it comes to compliance. There are so many things that we are not aware of when you begin and even as you go. I don't know about Kenya, but in Tanzania, you can register your business with the organization they call Rotlar. But there's no one place where I can go and I'll be told, okay, you want to open a bakery. You have to make sure you have 1, 2, 3, 4. These authorities are the ones you need to see. And so what you end up having is a situation where you have a premise of business, and every 3 days, knock, 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 someone comes to the door. Do you have this? Why don't you have this? You are supposed to get a 500,000 fine. Do you have this? Why don't you have this? So there are all these things, these situations that we kind of came across along the way, and not really knowing where, even if I want to be compliant and I want to have this information, where do I go? The other thing is, even if, for example, I'm not registered with a particular organization, if I go, what am I being met with? Am I being invited? Is someone speaking to me in a manner that makes me want to be compliant? Or am I scared that if I go and then they find out I've been working for 2 years and I haven't been paying them what I'm supposed to pay them, am I now in big trouble? So there's also this issue of what do you then end up meeting when you go there, when you see these people and everything. So that journey to compliance is an ongoing one, because also the other thing we have in Tanzania is authorities change. So every year in the budget, this year you'll find, okay, like for example, there's no longer TFDA, that's been gone. So now we're under TBS, Tanzania Bureau of Standards. So as of this year, I'm registered with them. And so it's really also really being informed. You have to constantly be informed. It doesn't stop. And this is also where, as Danielle said, there's different information. There's people who can help you with things that you don't know about. And at the beginning, we didn't have the money for that. We didn't even know who to ask. The assumption is wherever I go to is going to cost me a lot of money. Some people don't cost you a lot of money, but you're just that fear that you have that if I go, what am I going to say when they start telling me I need to pay them this much, for a consultancy? So those are some of the other pitfalls that we came across. So yes, so in 2016, we opened the business, and it started with myself and 3 staff members. We had one person in the kitchen who was baking with me and decorate, and I was teaching her to decorate. Then we had a cleaner, and then we had somebody who was in the front who was taking orders, and things like that. So steadily, it grew. It really, really grew over time, just realizing how much, as the orders kind of grew, you needed to have more and more man support for people to come in. As I said right at the beginning, before the talks started, I said that we trained a lot of our staff. So even being able to get people who have the right training was a problem. We have vocational, what we call VETA in Tanzania, which is a vocational kind of college, basically, where they do teach baking and things like that. But we felt that the quality, the standard, or the way that they were being taught, some of the things that they're being taught is not exactly what we wanted to grow in our business. So we were trying to bring something different to the table, and it was difficult to take those people. I think we employed one along the way. I think in 2018 we employed her who had been through VETA, but everybody else was somebody who we trained from scratch. This was hard, but at the same time it was also good because you could kind of mold them into doing the things that you want in the way that you want your business or your product to be put out there to your customer and everything. The issue of the low cost labor that was being spoken about, I think it's very dependent also on the industry. So for example, with me and in the industry that I'm in, it is hard to find the right kind of people, and it is tough to kind of train and then somebody leaves. But we've been I don't know if it's being very lucky, or maybe we've tried to be quite good employers in that we haven't had a very high staff turnover, which has been good. We have had challenges along the way with the staff that we have, and we have had challenges. I should maybe say, okay, then we started with 3. Now we're at about 15. So we have quite a big team of staff. So it's a very big team of staff. And it's been very tough to kind of teach not only what you want them to do on a day-to-day, but to really teach that company culture that you're trying to build. So making them loyal to your brand, for them to understand that wherever they are, you're wearing a Soul Treats t-shirt, you're carrying a brand. Whether you're delivering a cake or someone comes to the shop, or the way that you speak to a customer on the phone, how it is that you handle it when the customer messes up. Maybe the customer has told you today, I want my cake to be green. And then in the morning they call you, no, make it blue. And how do you react to that when someone comes and changes things on you? You know, and we tend to be told always that the customer is always right. How do you make the customer feel like they're always right? So really carrying that brand, I think we're often not known, I think, with Tanzania for really great customer service. They're really trying to build that culture, and not just for your employees to do it when you're there, but for them to especially do it when you're not there. And so it's really good when you hear feedback from customers who will tell you, oh, I had a good experience today, or maybe today this happened and I didn't like it, and things like that, and how do you work with that? So, like I said, when I said that if we'd had someone like Danielle with us from the beginning, it would have been great because of all the lessons that we learned. So one of the things that we learned along the way was that this issue of what I call the 3 Ps. So people, process, and product. So we had a product, we had a good product, and we put all of our energy, I think from the beginning in 2012, all the way, I think, to maybe even most of 2018, we were working on product, good flavors, really working on the ingredients, making sure that you had a consistent supply of ingredients and things like that. But the process and the people was where we were really lacking. We had a pretty decent team, but really building that company culture, we were lacking in that area. In terms of process, I think we were almost at a 0. There was so much also that was also on my shoulders, as I was the first one to take the leap and to be there full time. So you're wearing 6, 7, 8 different hats at the same time. If you're not there, it almost feels like you might as well close the doors because you keep being called every 5 minutes. You have to be there all the time. So that's something that was also very difficult to kind of learn how to pull away from that and to really build, almost run yourself out of a job. So to make sure that that the company can run without you, all the time. And I think as much as maybe we're not at the stage where we're thinking, this is going to be a huge multinational company, but we are trying to get to a place where we can have other branches. It's impossible for you to be everywhere at once. So how do you create a system that is going to be able to do that? So that's kind of the stage where we're at, where we're trying to put in to really build those systems that are going to be able to do that. So recently, actually this year, is when we started we started using what we call an ERP, an enterprise resource platform. So we literally, something that we just basically launched in the shop from early mid-July. So we started trying to use that. So which is going to be, it's an end-to-end system where we have all the way from, requesting stock, our accounts, to the kitchen, to the decorators, to the point of sale system. Everything is to be streamlined. And because before everything was in pieces. So you had piece here and there. And trying to get everything to be together, it's very, very difficult. It's tiring. And you find you're dropping the ball all the time. You've done this one is working well, and then, oh no, someone tells you today butter is finished and we didn't order any. So really trying to get everything to be in line is something that we're hoping the ERP is really going to help us with. And in terms of the people side, one of the things that we did as of last year that we'd never done before is doing basically like a staff retreat, really sitting down with everybody together and have very honest conversations about where everybody was at as an employee, and even us as well as the leaders of the company and everything, and what it is that we wanted, what it actually was more about hearing from our staff and where they felt that they were at. Why did they come to work at Soul Treats? How did they feel Soul Treats had been to them? And what did they feel they could add to the system? And what did they want to learn? What more? How did they want to grow? Where is it that they want to be? And things like that. And that was very, very eye-opening for us. We started doing kind of 6-month staff assessment. So we sit down with them and trying not to really make it really, you haven't done this, but really try to really hear from them and how it is that we can be better employees in that respect, trying to offer better benefits to them. So, for example, I'm not an HR professional. And in the last couple of years, really realizing that this business, it's gone beyond us as directors just having a passion. And we're now at a point where we're building a company, and as we build that company, really trying to get those skills from other people. So we have an accounting firm who does our tax and accounting. And then we have 2 people who we consult when it comes to HR issues. For example, with our HR policy, and how do you behave if an employee steals? What do you do if you have this kind of situation? You have an employee, for example, when it comes to issues of pregnancy, maternity leave. What does the law say? What am I able to do? What if my staff member is sick? So all of these things, which are practical kind of day-to-day tips that we didn't really know about. So having those people who are kind of coming from the outside in, being able to help us has really been great. And we're at the stage where we are definitely knocking on a lot of doors to be able to get people to help us to get to where we are. We're also working on a 5-year plan. So where are we? When we opened the shop, to be very honest, when we started the business, we didn't have great vision. Literally, our biggest dream was having a shop. So we got a shop. And then what? So you have a shop, and now what do you do? So we really had to sit down and really start to really imagine, now that we've gotten here and we've done this, where is it that we want to go? Do we want to have branches all over Dar es Salaam? Is that what we're trying to push? We realize maybe that's not what we want. We want our business to be much more of an online thing. So we want to grow our kind of delivery system to be able to reach out to more places, have few branches, but have a lot of maybe delivery bodabodas and things like that to be able to deliver to your customers. So that's another thing that we kind of have started working on. But the other thing that I should talk about now are the myths and the truths that I've met along the way. So basically, number one for me as a myth is that the hardest part of being an entrepreneur doesn't come at the beginning, or when people think they've taken the biggest risk. That's not the hardest part. I think initially I thought, this is when I quit my job, I was like, this is the hardest. No, it's not. And for me, I would say that the perseverance and really working through those difficult days, the days when you do sit down, as Danielle said, on the floor and you cry, you ask yourself questions. Why did I decide to do this? Why did I decide to do this? I should have just stayed in my job. It was so much simpler. Even if you're sick, you don't go to work, you still get paid. Now these days, if you don't work, no money's coming in. So it was tough in that respect. But yeah, so it's not the hardest part. And then the other thing is, it's not all about money. I think the other ones have said it. It's not all about money. If you're only doing it for money, you will give up because there's so much more work that needs to be done. The other thing is your passion is not enough. Yes, you may have a passion, you have a great idea, you have a great product. That is not enough. There are good ideas that die every day. So you really have to put in the work for the systems and the processes to be working for the business to keep going. And then one more thing. To know so now I'll tell you my truth. So to know your market, you really need to know your market. I think Emillian spoke about this. You really need to know your market, know what it is that you need, know what it is that your customer needs, and also don't try to serve everybody. You're not going to be able to serve everybody. And really, so know your market and feed that market. Keep reinventing yourself. Don't get stuck in just doing one thing, even if it's a really good selling product. We have a carrot cake with a cream cheese topping, which is loved by so many people. I have customers who come and they will never order anything else. But you have to really still produce and still try to come up with new ideas and everything. And also teach your customer. There's certain products that we brought on the market. And at first, people didn't want it. We started a pumpkin cake. People like pumpkin in Swahili, boga. So you tell someone, cake ya boga. What? Ya boga? No. But really kind of pulling them in and realizing this thing is really good. So teaching them, you have to do that. And also, for you to value each of your customers. Emillian spoke about this. Value all of them. Some people will tell you, oh, if Diamond Platinums comes today to order a cake, everything shuts down so I can serve him. But what about your regular Joe Schmo who orders a cake, every month for their office? So it's important for you to value everyone all across the board, because you don't know what that customer that you think is small can do for you. And that big customer can also ruin your business. Just like this, they'll do one post on Instagram, and everybody turns their back on you. So it's important for you to value all of your customers. And also the final thing I'll say, and in which I think these days a lot of people who are starting kind of as entrepreneurs, people are making their brand about them. So with Instagram, you find somebody's, they have a business, but every day there's a picture of them there. I'm really a believer that your brand has to be bigger than you. Because if it's just all about you, even if you make one mistake one day, that's it. And even if you don't make a mistake, people will only come to you. They'll come to the business if they see you. And it's very important to get out of that. So it's important for you to build your brand and to build your business beyond just your face. Yeah. So I think for me, that's it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I feel like I cannot wait to taste that pumpkin cake. Interestingly, I'm one of those people who love pumpkins, but rarely get the chance to cook them or cook them well. So I like what you've said about really getting to know your market and teaching. It's interesting. I've written in my note here, teach your pumpkin. I meant teach your customers, teach your clients. How many business owners take time to just let their clients know why you need to do this or how you need to do this? Are we always just bombarding them with ads about the next product they need to buy? Or are we telling them, are we sharing with them why it's important for them to learn something new or try something new? And it's like you're taking them through a journey, and that's what your business purpose or business mission is really there for. Thank you so much. And I really like that aspect as well, as Emillian is saying, let your brand be bigger than you. Yeah. Don't be the one who's taking the whole show of the business. Understand what problem your business is solving and let it be about solving that problem. Thank you for sharing with us the 3 Ps: people, process, and product. And one of the things I'd like you to share with us during the question and answer section is, what are some of the things that you have done to really make your clients feel they are right, even if they are not? You know, you talked about that and you mentioned something about that, where someone feels like they know everything. And yes, customer, you mentioned, is very important and is king, but how do you help them to understand your processes? For example, how do you help, especially people in the service space, that you can't just order a cake right now and expect it delivered to you right now, and they still leave feeling like, okay, I was treated really well. Same thing with maybe Danielle and even our consultant section. You just professionals, you just can't call me right now and expect me to drop everything and just purely focus on you. How do you still make them feel that like they're right, like they're okay, like you care? Thank you so much, Danielle, for the links that you're sharing with us here about hiring the right team and also managing the team. Please, everybody, make sure you check out those links and you save them and you go and see those resources there. Danielle is full of resources, so you will be really excited about that. And Maggie Gemwita says, thanks, Madam Kolimba, for your insight. Now I can see a person with idea and vision will always outcompete anyone who only sees the money, because you are very clear to say, if it's purely about the money, when things are not okay, it's possible you will give up. And Nick Kashasha says, thanks for sharing your entrepreneurship journey. And Winnie Jeremiah says, you have helped me connect with what has been said previously, that entrepreneurship is more of attitude than ability. And I think, I don't know whether it's Mr. Emillian who said that entrepreneurship is more of attitude than ability. And what you have done, Esther, is you've actually been able to bring that to life. Now, the next 20 minutes as well, we'll be hearing, let's come back to Kenya now, yeah? That's where I am. Let's come back to Kenya, and we'll be hearing from Denis Tonkei, also CEO, founder of Rotlar Ventures, and he'll also be sharing with us his journey, the myths he heard and experienced, as well as the truths of entrepreneurship. Karibu sana, Denis.
Very interesting listening to my fellow entrepreneurs and some of the things that they say. You read through your notes and you almost wonder whether it's a privilege to go last or they said everything. So, because the journeys are quite similar regardless of the location. It seems like even Tanzanians have the same TZD, KRA, just difference in initials, but similar stories. So it's a privilege listening to fellow entrepreneurs. I'll take us through the questions one by one so that we could be in a position to articulate and discuss. And so the first question was, what does entrepreneurship mean to me as the founder of Rotla Limited? I'll tell you that I did not start Rotla deliberately. I started by solving my personal real estate challenge, that I had a house and the paperwork was off, and I did not have the money to go and hire someone to sort it out. So went to the Ministry of Lands offices in Nairobi, and that's how I ended up there. So once I solved mine in 2 months, I discovered there are people who had been there for years. So they asked me, hey, can you have a look at this? And you discover that there are a lot of loopholes in the system, that all you needed to do is have a relationship and those people will solve your problem. So I started by purely being what Emillian called dalali. You walk in the corridor and work finds you, and you do the work and you get paid for the work. Amazingly, that's been our trajectory. We just find work from more work. So you do one job well, and that job creates another and another. So for us, Rotla has been a means for finding solutions for existing challenges for our clients and ourselves. We resolve our own problems, our own challenges. We wake up in the morning and we get emails and inquiries, and those inquiries are what we've built our business on. And we do one excellent job. Take it for my friend Sheba. And Sheba is sitting with someone, and someone mentions, I'm stuck with this. And they're like, simple. Here's a phone number. Call this person. Second one is we exchange the solving of those said problems for money profitably. Now, here's the thing. It's an interesting blend, because for a business to be called a business, it must create a win-win situation. So here's the thing. If we work for you and we are the only ones making money, the English term for that is conning, fraud. But if we also do work for you and you're the only one benefiting, and it's loss-making to us, or there's no return to us, then it's charity. But when it's a win-win situation, that we've got profit and you also got what you paid for, then now we are in business. We're transacting. And that's what we aspire to. And always give our clients full disclosures at the very beginning. Very beginning, we tell you, you know what, this is going to cost this is going to cost that. So when we start that transactional or business journey with you, we will always try as much as possible to be very clear and transparent, and which you will discover in the end is one of our successes. Because unfortunately, the real estate market in Kenya, which we will discuss in the sector's question, has a lot of curtains. You don't know what is going to appear next. So it's like an opera, and you're just left for the surprises, many of them unpleasant. It also creates employment. I think during this COVID-19 period, you've discovered that your job has a major factor to keeping you happy and stable. Other than just pay your bills, it keeps people happy. I mean, people are happy to wake up in the morning and go to work, because work keeps life moving. So we're happy that it creates employment for myself, for my staff, and also for all the consultants and contractors we work with on a daily basis. So that's what our company does for us. It's also a vehicle for value creation and wealth for us and our clients. Listen, I don't think anyone started a business so that they do not get rich. It will not happen automatically, but at the back of your mind, you watched a video, a series, something, and you saw that, you know what, I think this business thing pays. And so we run our business to create value and wealth for us through our fees, and also value and wealth for our clients through our experiences and expertise. For instance, our clients come to us so that we can convert the money they have into an asset that pays them better. And we also, that in return creates wealth. There's a flip side where we give value. Because you see, here's the thing. If somebody invests 1 million shillings, and in fact, in a piece of property, a piece of land, plot, something, and in 5 years, it's still worth 1 million shillings. You understand you've lost the money because inflation ate away on that money. So we try as much as possible through our expertise and experience to make sure that our clients make money. And that's how they keep coming back. And we're proud to report that our very first client, we still have him and his family to date. What the other reason is, we have a platform for innovation as we tackle current and emerging opportunities. Look, I'll give you an example. We get an opportunity to right now sell property online, do virtual tours. You get to express yourself as not just now as a business, but as an art form, to express, show, and get people to see things that they would normally not have time to see. So it feels nice to create something, and something enjoyable in terms of the opportunities. And even this, whilst COVID is a challenge, I also consider it an emerging opportunity. That you see, despite what has been placed before us, unfortunately, we are able to right now just recreate, re-energize, and get the same thing done, but do it differently. I have a quote I enjoy reading. I enjoy reading quotes, and one of them is, be stubborn on the goals, but be flexible with the process. You need to learn to readjust while in the middle of the game, and just of the transaction and the day, and just learn and go on with roll with the punches, as it were. I will move to the second question, which was my experiences being in the real estate sector and the major challenges we're facing and the solutions. Now, my brother Emillian, looks like I don't think we need that border. I think we should just remove it, and we should just be in the same country, because it's pretty much the same thing. However, I'll phrase mine a bit differently, because we in Kenya have a free market. Somebody wonders, is that a challenge? Look, it is, because a free market is completely unregulated. There's the legal term for it when you go and have a meeting with your lawyer. It's called a willing buyer, willing seller. Now, here's the thing about a free market. Whatever you agree on, that's that. There's no precedents, there's no guidelines. You can buy the same item for 10,000 shillings that somebody else will pay 100,000 shillings, and the transactions are being done concurrently. So it's a completely free market. It's open to everyone and everyone. And now that is unregulated, and many times it's open to abuse. For those of us on this meeting who are in Kenya, you have seen a lot of, from small daladali brokers on the street, here we call them brokers on the street, conning people of their money, all the way to large corporations. Like, for instance, you find big projects that big companies winding up, and they're going down with billions of shillings belonging to their clients. And there's not much they can do about it other than seek redress in court, which of course that takes a while. So that is a challenge. And how do we solve that challenge? We enjoy the fact that it's an open market, so no one is boxed in. In this country, we can literally create anything. For example, there's a lot of current investment from foreigners, mainly Chinese and European investors, and they bring concepts from their countries and bring them to Kenya. Because here, if you have money, you can invest in anything. All the upmarket neighborhoods are full of apartments, high-end ones, very lovely ones, and holiday homes everywhere. So that free market is also an opportunity for you to express yourself and be clear and not toe the line, as it were. So that's the challenge. So the only thing you need to do so that you're not part of being preyed on by dishonest people, we will answer that later, is have a competent team to do your due diligences and keep you safe. The other emerging challenge in Kenya, the Kenyan real estate issue, sounds not like a challenge, but of course it's a pro and a con all at the same time, is that Kenyans love real estate. I'm sure most people who live in Nairobi have heard of this one, Buroti Maguta Maguta. Kenyans love plots and property and real estate. It's the ultimate status symbol of accomplishment and satisfaction And it does not matter how much you achieve in your life if you do not own your own house. Kenyans are obsessed with names on title deeds. It took us a long time, by the way, to start convincing people to buy apartments. They're like, why would I want to own something and the guy on top of me owns also the same thing? I want my own piece of land. I don't want anyone near me. So that's one of the things. But there's this deep desire to own. So that also, for us, the advantages, it's then we have an insatiable desire that is self-fueling. Now, this desire for Kenyans to own things, own property is I'm sure Emillian has seen an influx of us bombarding them in Arusha and Dar es Salaam, and the whole lot, because there's a Zanzibar billboard in the middle of Nairobi, because they know that Kenyans are willing to cross to Zanzibar to buy apartments in Zanzibar. Why? Because we love property that much. So it's one of those things. Now, the problem of that is it creates greed. And that's what fuels the people being conned. For example, there's always this billboard, 90% sold. If you go to that development, they've not sold anything, but because we create an attitude or a shortage mentality that things are running out, people are willing to flout the rules and bend them backwards. So that's one. So how do we remedy that as a company? We keep it honest, provide our clients with all the information up front, and always insist that they come with their own independent team for verification. And of course, since we've always done it that way, there seems to be a perpetual line of referrals and profit coming our way, because they know that we also take out insurance, professional indemnities, that if we have money back guarantees, so that nobody, would feel unsafe in that. Then a third one, which is a bit unfortunate, is the absolute lack of innovation in design and options in finance. You see, Kenyans love photocopying. We used to do it in college, photocopy notes, download them from the internet, put your name on them, Xerox. It's ridiculous. But here's the thing: we love to just create and do things. So how we do that is we focus on our clients' needs and not our personal aspirations. There's a lot of office blocks in Nairobi that are empty, 50% empty, 70% empty. Why? Because everyone is putting up not a building for the clients, but one as a monument to themselves. So we try and develop real estate that is solving client needs, not what we really want to see for ourselves. The last one is that government here does not enforce the rules immediately. At times they do, at times they don't. Now, here's the challenge. The current affairs, there's people being thrown out of forest land not very far from where I live. And let's be honest with each other. You knew you were living in the forest. You have a title deed, yes, but by just looking, the amount of trees around you did not denote a well-planted neighborhood. The suburb was a bit too leafy. Okay, so Kenyans have a way of ignoring the obvious. People drawing to riparian areas and things like that. Now, how we resolve that is we self-supervise, because we know this will come back to bite you. If not today, next week, next year. One day there'll be someone in office who will decide to, and our country is very developed in terms of the rules. The rules are very clear to everyone. You can easily download the act and see what the guidelines are. And those rules one day will be enforced to the letter, and you will find yourself at a disadvantage. And most importantly, we keep competent teams to eliminate ignorance. We have high-end level team of legal team, and I thank them for joining in today, surveyors, architects. So everybody has the time to raise the red flag. I'll sprint through the myths so that and truth, so that we can get through this. I can see Sheba trying to tell me that.
I want us to miss out on the Q&A.
Okay, so the myths. So the myths. I'll take you through the myths quickly. Entrepreneurs, that you don't get the deal you deserve, you get the one you negotiate for. So no one owes you anything. You think that this market owes you something. This market does not owe you anything, because you get the deal you deserve, you get the deal you negotiate for, not the one you deserve. If you sell yourself short, you will be paid for what you asked for, and as long as you keep selling value. Second one is that you will work less. If you quit your job thinking that you're going to work less, you're in for a rude surprise. After this meeting, heading for a site meeting, and then another site meeting, and then Sunday afternoon for a site meeting. So you will work 10 times as hard. So if you think that this is you will end up needing to be addicted to work to enjoy it. The third one is success will come. Success will not come. Success will need to be created by yourself. So you will need to create the opportunity. Oprah says, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. So you need to be prepared for your success. The other one is this world needs you as a business. And if you do not, if I don't put up houses or Esther does not make cakes, people have living in houses before I was born. So they will continue. The market abhors a vacuum, so it will be filled. The last two, you should do not lose a client by winning an argument as opposed to satisfying the client. The client is always right. Find a way of mediating between yourself and your client. So it's an important thing that you should do. And the last one, and the most important one, which I saved for the myth, is you can do this by yourself. Listen, this is the hardest journey you're about to embark on. From our friends in Tanzania, please say it in proper Swahili. Kidole kimoja, please say it in proper Swahili. One of you, please unmute.
Akivuji chawa.
Good, you see? Now you see we don't want to destroy that. So you cannot do this by yourself. I have a friend of mine who sent me a quote earlier this week, which I saved up to read for you. My lawyer and friend says, skill is fine and genius is splendid, but the right contacts are more valuable than either. You seriously need a team. I am a BNI member, proud BNI member, proud member of Centonomy, and I do not leave WhatsApp groups that have something to do with business. I do not. I stay in there because I'm sure they'll come. Sheba, 2 minutes to run through the truths because they've all been said kindly.
Sure.
Thank you. But the truth is, you will succeed and fail all in a day's work, and you need to learn to tough it out. That the morning section could be very hard, and then the afternoon section, a client walks in and asks to buy a house and leaves deposit on the table and says, by the way, can I use the full amount if you promise me that you would get this done in a week? And you're left thinking, this is such a roller coaster of emotions, and there are good days and bad days. So you just need to learn to tough it out. Don't over celebrate and don't over mourn. So that's just the reality. So internal fortitude is important. That you will also not have a fan club, and that it takes 20 years for you to make it overnight. You will work extremely hard, and suddenly somebody comes and says, these Rotla guys, they're doing very well. Where were they? We've been around a long time, 10 years, 20. And suddenly somebody comes and says, hey, you guys show up last week? No, we've been working at it. And the other very important thing, and all of us know this because I'm sure everyone's mother taught them this, is that hard work and honesty pays. Your mother's lesson was true. That if you work hard, it will always pay. Not always in the form of that you expect, but it pays. And a client's con is unforgiving since you are special, not unique. Look, you're very good, yes, but you're not the only one who does what you do. So if you treat your clients badly, the clients I have now are someone's clients before I started this business, and the new ones will keep leaving. Last two comments so that I give it back to Sheba. That real estate and business does pay very well. And you put in the hard work and prudence. Go through the Forbes list. All those people have made it big. So do not be discouraged. We are going to make a big fortune out of ourselves. If money is really your target, this I think is one of the best ways to make it happen. And that it will be worth it because you will have satisfaction. Like for instance, you sell someone a piece of land, I sell someone a piece of land, and I see them put up an apartment. And on the day of commissioning of the apartment, they start receiving rent and they invite you for lunch and tell you how their life has changed, but they're no longer stressed. And those are the win-win situations we seek. That also, you will make it because everyone else before you has made it. And you need to be strong enough to make it. And please have plans, backup plans, because life keeps happening. If you can see on this call, I'm dialed in on 2 devices. Why? Because life happens. I mean, the internet fluctuates, power goes out, something. So have backup plans for your plans. And most importantly, you will succeed. Thank you.
Wow, I love that. Have back. I didn't know you had 2 gadgets, and it's even better than now. That now I know why you have 2 gadgets. Last time I checked, someone had 2 gadgets. One was for sound, the other one was for video. But but for you, you're telling us, have a backup plan for your plans, and always remember that you'll make it. And you've talked a lot about toughing it out, tough it out, and work on what you called internal fortitude. You said as an entrepreneur, the truth is you need internal fortitude. And one of the question I have, and you can think about it as we start taking questions and answers, is what do you usually do? You yourself as Denis, what do you do to improve on your internal fortitude? What do? You say don't over celebrate, don't over mourn, and also tough it out. What are some of the things you do, I think, from a mental health space, to stay on course? Because I've heard from all of us, and I've heard that business is ideally a roller coaster. There are good days and bad days. You say good mornings and worse afternoons, or the vice versa. So what are some of the things that you as an entrepreneur, you have been doing to stay sane or to keep breathing, especially during this time? Danielle, I can share, we can set the question and answers from your end. My question to you was succession planning and business falling apart. How do you prep? Give us what are you doing, you yourself, as a leader?
Okay. I'm conscious of time, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but I want to link it also with your question about solopreneurs, because that's the experience that I have for my particular business. The types of systems that I think you need to consider from the beginning. The first one is your client funnel. So for those of you who don't know what a funnel is, it's basically, you get all of these potential people in the top of this is like what your funnel looks like. So you have all these people that come in the top who are maybe ideal customers, but you ultimately have to bring them down this process and they come out the other end as someone who pays, right? So think about what that process looks like. How do you move people from one point of that, the top of the funnel, and down into the bottom, and create a system around that so that you're not reinventing the wheel every single time? So as an example, as a business coach, the first step that anyone has to take if they want to work with me, especially in my one-to-one program, is they have to book a consultation. We have to have a 30-minute conversation. I need to understand more about them, about their business, and figure out if we're the right people to work together, because like I said, you can't be in business for everyone. And like, as Emillian said, like, you want to make sure you're having fun, that you enjoy what you're doing. If someone is going to end up being a draining customer, I don't really want to work with them. I will turn them away. I don't really care about the money that much. It's more about the relationship. So the first thing is that they have to book a consultation. After the consultation, I'll send them a follow-up email, which will include more information about the services that they're interested in, and also maybe any of the challenges that they discuss, because as I've shared in the chat, I have blogs on all sorts of different things when it comes to business, and so on and so forth, right? There's exact steps that they go through depending on what it is that they purchase and what service they want from me. So think about what your customer funnel will look like and what steps you want to bring those people through, and try to automate it as much as possible by having things like email templates that you just have to fill in the new detail of, their name, what their challenges were, and what they want to do next. The more you can set that up in advance, the easier it is, not only for you to make sure that everyone is having a consistent process, but also for you to then to delegate that entire thing to somebody else to do for you, right? So for me, I have to do the consultations, but I could have an assistant do the follow-up emails, and they have the structure that they need to follow. So that's the first system to think about. The second one in line with that is also your marketing system. So what is it that you want to be saying to your customers? How do you want to reach them? Choose your channel, whether that's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or, more traditional advertising. And again, automate as much of that as possible. There's so many tools out there that you can use to help you with this. A lot of them are free, at least for a certain number of people or, certain tasks, etc. So use the tools that make sense for your business so that you can put as much in place that can be automated as possible, and that other people can pick up for you. So as a business owner, you should be thinking about your strategy and have someone else execute that strategy for you by being transparent about what it needs to be, setting expectations of your team, letting them know how to talk in your voice, what sort of things you want to say, etc. So that's marketing. The next one is financial systems. So I use for my invoicing, I use something called waveapps.com. It's free. You can just set it up using a Google account. And with that, you can automate your invoices. So let's say someone has to pay you every single month on a certain date, you can set up a system where those invoices automatically get created with the right amount of money. They automatically send out to your customers, so you don't have to do it for yourself. And you can set up reminders as well, so if they don't pay, that you're not the one that's chasing them. It's a system that chases them. So there's tons of tools that are out there. If you guys want to have more, if you want to know more about them, feel free to hit me up and ask me specifically what you're looking for. And I'm happy to give some more guidance on that. The other thing I would say, kind of with succession planning, when you're a solopreneur, often you are the one with the expertise that you are delivering, right? But you can create frameworks for your business. So if you are creating, let's say you offer a service like business coaching, I sell packages. So I sell a package of support that is my main program is called 6 Steps for Getting Strategic. That looks exactly the same for anybody who comes in and takes it from me. I have another program called Storytelling School, which looks exactly the same for anyone who takes that from me. So when you are offering a service, you want to package it into something that people can buy very easily and say, okay, these are the things that I know that I'm getting in this package. And that way you can replicate it. You're not reinventing the wheel every single time. You have a process that you take your customers through, and then they have results that they can expect as a result of that. And then the other thing about succession planning when you're a solopreneur is that you can ultimately find other people to potentially deliver portions of what you're doing. So if I'm always training on certain topics, I can teach people the framework that I use. I can make sure that they're skilled to deliver it. I can, watch them as they do it the first couple of times and give them feedback, and then eventually set them off on their own to do that. It's not something that I've done yet because I haven't wanted to or really needed to. But as I grow my business into a bigger entity than what it is now, that's definitely something that I need to consider. So finding people that maybe have a similar skill set to you, other business coaches in my case, or people with financial management skills, that sort of thing. The final thing I want to recommend in terms of making sure, well, actually it's 2 things, to make sure that you can kind of weather the storm, is to have some cash in the bank to make sure that you, it's called a runway, right? How long do you have until money runs out? For me, I always have minimum 6 months of liquid cash to cover my business expenses and my life expenses. So both in my business account and in my savings account, I have 6 months of cash in case anything happens. So that buys me some time to figure things out, or to take a new direction, or to weather a storm when it happens. The other thing I highly, highly, highly recommend, especially for solopreneurs, is to get something called critical illness cover. So it's a type of insurance that you get if you get very, very sick. So you're unable to work, you're so incapacitated that you cannot perform your duties. And, as Esther said before, when you're an entrepreneur, if you don't work, you don't earn, and therefore you don't eat. Making sure that you have something that can protect you in the most extreme circumstances. So think things like cancer, you're out of commission for 3, 6, 9, 12 months. A critical illness insurance will give you a lump sum payout if you are diagnosed with any of these really critical things, that at least buys you, again, some time to get back on your feet. So have a safety net of cash to help you. And also, if you're able to get critical illness cover, it's not very expensive. It's maybe $25 a month, depending on your age. and your medical history. So, check those sorts of things out. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I use Wave too, and so does Olive, and it makes things very easy, especially what you've just said about automating, trying to see what are the various systems that you can automate that can support you in your operations, because operations, if you don't take care of them, they can easily slow you down. Emillian, you are to share with us one thing that at the moment you're doing to make sure that, your team management level is good. What, because of time shares, what is one thing that is really working well for you?
Okay, thanks, Sheba. It is very critical for an organization to have people who are motivated to deliver the expected deliverables. Last about 2 weeks ago, I was really sick, and it was a weird sickness. It was border. So wherever I go to hospital, doctor always diagnose me, and they find out nothing, and they ended up giving me painkillers, a lot of advising me to take a lot of water. But eventually came into a doctor who said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I am running my own organization." He said, "How many employees do you have?" I told him, "I have 7. And they said, "So what do they do?" I told him exactly what they do. But actually said, "Watch out. If you are doing their jobs, you will be a slave for your organization. So you need to establish a system whereby they should be doing their jobs and they will become partner to them." Now, it has been a journey for me to mold the team that could work together with me, not for me, but we work together. Number one, and the important thing is to make sure your staff feel that they are here to earn, not to be favored for the payment you give them. And even recently, I've started kind of a business within a business. So every employee now, his or her own company name. They were not registered with TRA, not registered with PRERA, but they have own business in my business. And they deliver their goals according to the business plan. And if they found themselves they are not really delivering to the expectation or the set standards, again, I quote from my friend Denis, who said, if you are you receive for more what you have delivered when you are calling people. And if they receive more than what you've given them, then you are doing charity. So it's a bit a process which I've worked with my team to make sure every day, and in fact every Wednesday, I offer trainings to them to feel they are here to deliver services. They are the suppliers. And eventually, if someone fails to satisfy the expected standard, we sit on the table and we agree that let's depart from each other. So they shouldn't feel that you fired them, but they should feel that they have failed to meet my expectations. Then they comfortably leave. But a relationship will remain the same because wherever they go, they will be successful. And the important thing, you need to encourage your staff to feel that leaving you by growing the ladder is a privilege and a positive contribution to them because you brought them their junior and then they up. So don't feel that when your staff leaves you and they join another higher organization or higher income stage, they feel motivated because you have all the skills to recruit a small one and then grow them to that level. So it is a long process, but it depends on each organization, each employee. But don't make your employees feel that they are here to be paid. They are there to earn. And if you make them feel that they are there to be paid, that's why they supply several EDs, because they'd rather go to hospital and then negotiate with the doctor to get ED, so they can go down the street and they do their other businesses, because they make more money and your income is they still get it, then they plus and they make double. So make them feel that if you don't deliver the set goals within your specific goal area, then in the specific work area, we should sit down and negotiate and then make it a win-win situation. So make them feel that they're in business too. That's what I can say.
Great, thank you so much for that, and thanks, Danielle, for the resources that you've shared. Esther, I know that we've talked a lot about customers today, and I just don't want to regurgitate, but I know you're very passionate about customer service. So my question to you is, what is one thing you would recommend for all the entrepreneurs listening to do at the moment when it comes to customer service, especially with what is going on around the world with the COVID-19 pandemic? How do you continue making them comfortable and remembering you as well?
Okay, so the thing that I would say is that you need to keep informing your customer. One of the things that I learned during this period is information. So you need to give them information. Make sure that they know that you are still there and that there are services that you can do, and that you can kind of mold yourself to fit, what works for them. So during this season, it was very important to make sure that your customers felt comfortable, whether it's them feeling that your business is really taking all the precautions that they need to take. I think things for Tanzania are a bit different to what it's been like in Kenya or even in other countries, especially I think throughout the last month, because over here a lot of restrictions have already been lifted and everything. But certainly earlier on, I think in May, as in June, in May and things, it was very important that customers felt that you were really taking all the precautions that you need to take. So it was important to keep them informed. It was important to make sure that they were comfortable. And the other thing that we had to learn, because obviously for me as a business doing cakes, we had no weddings. So there were no weddings, send-off parties, all of these huge events. That was something that was out the window. So now how did we keep things going? We realized that people working from home, now it was more of the smaller items. I want to have a slice of cake with my cup of coffee at home. So how do I make that available to my customers? Delivery, we had to do many more deliveries. People used to come to the shop a lot more. All of a sudden, people didn't want to come to the shop anymore. So how did you make them room? The delivery services we had were not enough. We had to add to that. Luckily for us, back in February, we launched an app. We launched an app and a website. So we were lucky that we already had that going. So that was definitely being used a lot more during this season as well. But I would say keep your customer informed and also listen to them. I think often customers are very willing to tell you what it is that they want. I'm not saying do everything that they tell you, because a lot of things that customers will tell you that is not good for your business, that maybe is not what you need to do now. Maybe you need to do it in a few months. So you can't do everything. But whatever advice that they'll give you, take it on, say thank you and everything, and we'll work on it. And then see how it kind of fits in with your plan and how things are going. But I do think that customers do feel good when they feel like, oh, this person has really listened to me. They've taken on what I told them, or they now offer this service that they didn't used to. It makes them feel good. So keep them informed and listen to them. I would say that those are the two major points.
Great. Thank you so much. And also Esther, Emillian, and also Denis, feel free to share with us your websites, your contacts, even on the chat, so that as Daniel has done, so that in case people want to reach out to you, they're able to reach out. In case I want to buy a house in Tanzania or land, an island maybe somewhere in Zanzibar, I know what contacts to. And even in case I want to buy some pastries for my people in Dar, also let us know, Esther, how to contact you. Denis, finally, what are some simple tips that you can share with us on how to build that internal fortitude that you talked about?
Great. One thing I need to point out just before I answer that question is it slipped through the cracks. I needed to mention this, that anyone who's thinking of going into entrepreneurship, that you do not require money to start. I forgot to mention that, and I think it's very important that I tell you, please, you will never be fully ready, ever. Your ducks will never be in a row. So if you're going to start, might as well. Good. So let me talk about the internal fortitude question that Sheba has posed to me. Look, you are the biggest asset you have. So you staying grounded, safe, and liking yourself is very important. So you need to do yourself a favor and review every day. My first job worked for my neighbor who who's one of the people I admire unreservedly, he's now 70, and he still leaves for work at 5:30 in the morning. And he had a policy he taught me called sectional balancing, because he was a senior accountant. You close your day every day. You close every transaction one by one. So you end your day. Doesn't matter if you had a bad day, you take stock why you had a bad day. And it actually takes 5 minutes. You write down on a piece of paper why you had a bad day, or if you had a good day, why you had a good day. So that next time, if you begin to see your day take the same trajectory like the day you had a bad day, you know where to stop it, okay? So that you're also able to have mental notes to how to pick your clients. Like Danielle has very ably put it, you're not here to serve everyone. So if you talk to someone and you realize that this is not going to be a good fit for what we are doing or where we are, then you know when to stop it. So, and also, even the clients we finally take up, we audit their transactions one after the other. After the transaction is done, I take down a piece of paper, buy myself a cup of coffee, preferably an espresso, double, sit down, write the question, this transaction, so-and-so, Esther v. Emillian. How did we handle it? What was the issues? And then do a balanced statement at the bottom and say, was it profitable? Was it loss-making? Learn from it and close it. So it does not matter how successful it was. I will not throw myself a huge party because you made a big deal. Or we're not going to beat ourselves up senseless because we failed. But of course, learn from the experiences so that what that does is instinctively teaches you to see the favorable route markers on your route to success, and you keep pursuing them. And also, so you don't ignore the red flags. And also, if you see red flags, you know when to stop. You see most people who will always tell you, something kept telling me that transaction was going to be bad or that relationship was going to be bad. It's because you kept ignoring and you pursued the matter notwithstanding of the facts that you could see. So the facts are important. And last but not least, always be grateful that you have another opportunity to serve someone else. So that's how I maintain internal fortitude. Oh, and give God the glory for everything. Thank you. Being a church boy is extremely important to me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our entrepreneurs. I'm really grateful. I have been taking notes from Emillian, from Danielle, from Esther, from Denis, and I continue to learn so much from all of you. And I hope it's clearly when I look at the chats here on Zoom, I'm seeing a lot of good feedback. Denis has shared his contacts. So has Esther, Soul Treats. And I was just checking out the websites and they look good, both from prime location, from Stepping Stone, from Soul Treats as well as Rotlar. So these are good way for us to engage with you and even have you on our contacts. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I saw Nessia asking about where can I get an ideal critical illness cover. The good thing is across all these countries in East Africa, we have very good insurance companies. So the best thing is also for you to shop around, as Danielle has said, to shop around so that you can get the best deal as opposed to just being given a name. And the good thing is they're able to customize it for you. I hope this session was helpful for all of you, our entrepreneurs. And also if you're out there, you've been thinking about starting out soon, this is the best time. You learn as you go. Thank you, Danielle Anderson. Thank you, Esther Kolimba. Thank you, Emillian Rwejuna. And also thank you, Denis Tonkei, for your time and always being here to share with us your insight.